The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Jeff Banks online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at jeffbanks.bet. Welcome along to the Final Furlong podcast as we focus our attention on the York Ebor Festival. I'm Emmet Kennedy. Great to have your company on the show and great to be joined, as usual, by George Gorman, former jockey, and by one of the brightest young minds in racing, Harry Beard. Welcome to the Final Furlong podcast for your proper actual day. You have been on before, but it was like ages ago.
Yeah, it sure was. Thanks for having me on. Hi, Emmet. Hi, George, as well. And we were talking off camera. It's good to finally see George. We haven't really met, but this seems to be the way that people are meeting now.
It's not the feature race of the week. That's the Ebor, the race the meeting is named after, but it is the race of the year. The Juddmonte International, over 10 furlongs, and an all-star cast has been assembled. We're going to take you through every single runner in the race because it deserves that. This is a mouth-watering clash. It looks like a pretty even pace on show. Hans Andersen, the only real proper front runner in there, and he's going to be sacrificed as a pacemaker. Although City of Troy has led in the past, but more likely he'll be prominent, and in the Derby, he was held up. We'll take you through each runner, and we'll begin with Alflela. 3 from 4 at York. He's won 5 of his 10 starts in Class 1 company, but unplaced in his last 2 previous efforts at Group 1 level. Jim Crowley's got a 15.9% strike rate, and that makes him one of the highest performing jockeys at the track. And Owen Burrows has had 6 winners from his 22 runners for a 27.3% strike rate. Stolar 11 could be a little bit tricky, but he doesn't have much to find on time form and RPRs, and he's won for the tricast. Harry, what do you make of Alflela?
Yeah, I mean, Alflela was very good. Beat, obviously, King's Gambit last time out in a race that he went back-to-back for. We'll talk about that. Obviously, King's Gambit going for... It is the race prior to the Juddmonte International. I'm pretty sure of it. But yeah, that's off the top of my head. But look, Alflela, he's a very hardy horse. The only slight worry that I'd have about him is what you just mentioned, is his ability in Group 1 company hasn't really been seen to best effect. But look, he likes the track. He's arriving here in form, so he definitely deserves his chance, doesn't he?
Absolutely. The owners did win this race with a late maturing type last year. Whether or not he's in Mostadaf's class is another matter entirely. George, what do you make of Alflela?
Yeah, look, he certainly deserves his place in the field. Like you were saying, the draw's not ideal. I worry probably about his ability to give weight to the likes of City of Troy. Like, you think he's rated 118, given £7 for a horse rated 124. Obviously, it all depends if City of Troy turns up on the day. And he did have... The run, the Prince of Wales, he did have one of these in front of him that day, who I'm sure we'll get to in a bit, who's running off the same mark and the same weight. Not 100% sure how he's going to turn the form around with that horse if the horse replicates that run, but certainly well worth his run. And obviously I'll always be a Jim Crowley supporter because he's just down the road, so we'll be cheering him home.
I'm interviewing Jim Crowley for TalkSport 2 tomorrow. We might release it on the Final Furlong podcast as well, but he'll be a guest on the show on Wednesday. Ambiente Friendly. He's got 2 3/4 links to make up on City of Troy from his Epsom run. Stamina was probably stretched over that trip and the Derby and the Irish Derby last time out, but he was very impressive, just shy of 12 furlongs in the Lingfield Derby trial. And runner-up Illinois has since won the Queen's Vase at Royal Ascot and been second to the now ARC second favourite in the Grand Prix de Paris last time out. He's going to be in action half an hour before in the Great Voltigeur, which you'll hear live on TalkSport 2. And he almost certainly, Ambiente Friendly, has got more potential over this trip. Good to firm ground would be a slight question mark for me, Harry, but this trip will see him get closer to City of Troy if he runs his race.
Exactly that. Took the words right out of my mouth. The ground might be a little bit of a worry, but dropping back in trip is certainly going to be on the positive side. I mean, I think they were more hoping that he'd stay the 12 furlongs, but then I think after the Curragh the last day, I think they came to realise that his trip is going to be probably 10. And he has a really good turn of foot, but to what extent? I mean, when you've got City of Troy who has that turn of foot and who does stay, that is where the difference is. And look, the drop down in trip will certainly be a big factor. It could swing things with City of Troy. There's a big price difference. There's a few judges on Twitter that are seeing Ambiente Friendly as the value option, and you can certainly see the case. But whether City of Troy is just doing what, I mean, he was just ruthless at Epsom, and we'll get on to mention him. But Ambiente Friendly, he's is it third time lucky for Rab Haplin?
Ooh, good question. George, what do you make of James Franchow's horse?
I think when you've got not a lot between the field on ratings here and you've got 3 very good 3-year-olds, you've got to look towards them receiving the weight. And I can find minor question marks about the other two that I'll get into. Whereas with Ambiente Friendly, he's, for me, certainly the only one of the three where you can see a reason he'd improve for these conditions, being the step down in trip. He's travelled very strongly the last twice and just been outstayed. He would definitely be the most interesting out of the 3-year-olds for me.
I agree. And if Los Angeles and Illinois fed at the finish of the Voltigeur, which they may very well, we'll come to that race in a little bit, maybe that would affect his position in the market. We shall see. Bluestocking, next up, runaway winner of the Middleton Stakes over course and distance in May, and has since won the Group 1 Pretty Polly and ran an absolute blinder to be second in the King George. She would be taking a lot of beating in the Yorkshire Oaks. She'd basically win that, I think, but their connections have decided to go for this much tougher race. She handles all types of ground. She's well drawn in stall 4. On RPRs and time form, she needs to improve to beat City of Troy, but that's not impossible, and her trainer, Rafe Beckett, has a 16.8% strike rate, and jockey Rossa Ryan is in the top 5 of the best jockeys and most successful jockeys riding at York since 2019. Harry, what do you make of the filly? Are you surprised she's in here?
I am, but pleasantly surprised. It adds to what is already not a muddling picture in this race, but she adds that little bit of spice to it, being the filly in here, being the one that she's coming off the back of a really good season, to be fair. I mean, she was kind of, I'll compare to like an Isaac Shelby back in the day when she's always finishing runner up and not really getting the heads in front. But look, this year, I mean, she bolted up here in May. Then obviously went to the Curragh to win the Pretty Polly, where she beat Emily Upjohn, who was subject to a brilliant ride. Obviously, things haven't gone the same way since for Emily Upjohn, but I mean, Bluestocking then bounced back and only finished 2 lengths behind what looked to be an absolute freak of a horse in Goliath in the King George. So she thoroughly deserves a chance in here. She's not got too much to find on ratings, but she does have to she has to give weight away to City of Troy remarkably, and that'll be some tough task. But I'm really glad to see her in here because I think it adds that bit of spice into the race. And but then again, you're looking at connections. They probably don't need the money. Well, they definitely don't need the money. So why not go for it? You know, why not make a name for yourself?
Yeah, it is good that the sponsors are running like such a high-class horse in their own race, but she would have been a good thing for the Yorkshire Oaks, in my humble opinion. Will help, though, Aidan O'Brien in his quest to be champion trainer, because Content's chance suddenly just improved massively so. Bluestocking for you, George. What do you make of her chances?
Yeah, you're saying obviously Juddmonte would have been fairly keen to run her here, but certainly wouldn't have been. It would have been music to Rafe Beckett's ears, having obviously his Irish Oaks winner in the Yorkshire Oaks as well. So being able to split them up is the right result for him. Receiving weight here, she's obviously got a chance. I'd be more pleased with the run in the Pretty Polly, which sounds absolutely mad, but I think her and Goliath are probably a little flattered by coming a bit further back off a manic pace in the King George. Not to say they're not very good horses, of course they are, but you'd have to think Auguste Rodin hasn't run his race that day. Yeah, well worth a chance. Does she interest me at 8-1? Probably not.
Yeah, she does interest me slightly. I just think this is such a deep race. I'm not sure that she interests me enough to go and have a bet on the race. It is interesting to hear her connections talk about the fact that the ground isn't as much of a concern for her as it used to be. And I think if you look at most of the racing agencies, well, all of them, for the form line last time out, you see Good to Firm second placing. Immediately you're thinking, oh yeah, so she handles Good to Firm ground. And if they get that on Wednesday, which it's forecast, there is rain forecast for York, but that's certainly the going at York right now. That would be in her favour. However, Aidan O'Brien was pointing out it wasn't Good to Firm ground at all. And the fact that Auguste Rodin, Rebels Romance, and Luxembourg were beaten in the way they were, I think proves it was not Good to Firm ground. But hey, we love Ascot. Calandagan, wildly impressive at Royal Ascot in a race that is not working out particularly well. You can't really count Diego Velasquez. He fell at the back of the telly that day, but he was very good and bounced back to form at Leopardstown. Who knows what will happen down under when he heads to the Cox Plate later in the year. We shall see. But he's not exactly a horse that you can use as a guide for that particular form. But his time form rating was higher than City of Troy's Eclipse win, and he'll be held up by Stefan Pasquier, who's having won on and he'll be held up by Stefan Pasquier with a pretty even pace, maybe even a good pace. That might very well suit him. He's won on heavy in France and Good to Firm at Royal Ascot. Ground's not going to be any issue to him, and drop and trip shouldn't be an issue for him either. And his trainer's going to have a really good line onto this form, having won the King George with Goliath. Interesting that this is the one they're sending here, Harry, and I think he's dangerous.
he certainly is dangerous. My only concern would be, as you mentioned, with the form lines from his win at Ascot in obviously the King Edward Stakes. That was, you're racing against lesser opposition there. Is it going to be tougher to bridge that gap coming from the rear? That would be my only worry. We'll see how the pace holds up at York. They might, you never know, they might just go a stupid clip, which would bring in the closers. But I mean, I think 7-1. It's dangerous because he's a very dangerous horse. You've got to respect a 6-length Group 2 winner at the Royal Meeting. You have to respect that, and especially the fact that they're coming over from France to try and take it again. But I wouldn't be too keen on him. If I'm going to be honest, I'm not saying he isn't talented enough to win it, because I genuinely think he is. But I just think that the way he runs in this level of company, I think will be tough to replicate, and I don't think they'll come back to him.
Okay, that's interesting. George, what do you think?
Again, just back to what I said about trying to pick one of the 3-year-olds to be the horse that wins this because of the weight for age. It's not that I don't think City of Troy is an excellent horse. That I said I don't think he'll like the ground. It's just I'm trying to pick which one of these three can find a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I ran into with Calandagan is he does need to improve again, in theory, to beat City of Troy. And I don't think stepping down in trip's the way to do it. I thought he seemed to really relish the mile 4 the last day. Not say a mile, he's not quick enough for a mile 2, but is he going to be quick enough? I don't like a horse stepping up in grade and down in trip, because he's going to encounter a gallop unlike he's seen before here. And that would, again, I mean, he can't win. Just put me off backing him. And that's why I picked Ambiente Friendly out of those three. He's got something positive has changed for him. Whereas City of Troy and Calandagan have two unknowns for me.
Okay, I think I'm much more positive about him, but we'll wrap up that in the summary a little bit later. To the favourite, and he's going to be a strong favourite, you would imagine. City of Troy, European champion 2-year-old, winner of 5 of his 6 starts, and a 3-time Group 1 winner, described by Aidan O'Brien as the best horse he's ever trained. Strong words, which we have heard before about other horses, but no reason not to believe what he's saying about the son of Justify, who did look, as Harry said, just imperious in the Derby when he brushed off the disappointment of his Guineas flop by showing a devastating turn of foot to win at Epsom. He did hang right, though, when just about getting it done in the Eclipse last time. Bad ground was used as an excuse by his connections and by some journalists as well. The Juddmonte International has got a history of seeing some big names producing really big performances, and given the forecast good ground, Harry, no excuses. If he's able to show his true ability in this race, he could put on a massive show. The question is he going to do that?
I've always been a massive fan of him. I've loved him since the interview when he made his debut at the Curragh, and Ryan could hardly pull him up, and he nearly ended up in the wall. I've loved him ever since. Everyone went to Newmarket this year to go and watch the potential. Well, in many people's words, the next Frankel. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that by any stretch of the imagination, but those were the words that were used. And to compare any horse with Frankel at the start of a year is pretty breathtaking. Yes, he flopped, but then, like I said, like I've just mentioned, what we saw at Epsom was pretty frightening, and especially what the form was stacked up with. Los Angeles obviously has came out and won an Irish Derby. Ambiente Friendly was obviously 3rd in the Irish Derby. The form is just, what he did to those horses is just unlike. And I know the ground was obviously a factor of his not disappointment, because he's still an Eclipse winner at the end of the day, but people were just obviously expecting him to win by lengths and lengths. It wasn't to be. But you've got to remember, Al Rifa was in second that day, since came out and won a Group 1 over in Germany. The third, See the Fire, was a neck behind the Nassau winner in Opera. So this is just off the top of my head, but the form is stacking up, and 5-4 is skinny. Would I want to be backing him at 5-4? No, because I think there's like George, you mentioned Ambiente Friendly there being arguably the most exciting out of those three at the top of the market, and most intriguing, I should say. And I agree, but would I like to see City of Troy win? Yes, purely from a spectator and a fan of the sport. I want to see the superstar, and look, he's got all of the billing for it, and fingers crossed. There'll be no excuses on Wednesday. Don't get me wrong. There'll be absolutely no excuses, because he's got a nice draw. he'll get a pace to aim at, and it'll be the cream rises to the top. And I'm hoping as a fan that he is that one.
Yeah, I liked him on debut, but fell in love with him after he won the Superlative. That was just outrageously good, and the stride on him is something savage. That being said, even money just doesn't appeal to me in a race of this nature. George, I think he's going to take an awful lot of beating, but this is such a deep race. It's the deepest race he's ever run in, and I struggle to take that price.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like Harry was just saying, really, this is the best result for the sport. We'd love to see him come out and absolutely spread eagle them. I looked at those 3-3-year-olds. I just went, who's got the best chance of showing me something I haven't seen before from them here? Which means conditions have to have changed in some way that's positive for them, whether it's trip, ground, excuses for other runs, things like that. And for me, it's probably Ambiente Friendly has that little thing going for him, which is a step down in trip. Whereas this horse, you try and find reasons for his underperformance in Newmarket. It's interesting saying it was too soft at Sandown, but he's run twice on good ground and he's recorded RPRs of 84 and 103. Bear in mind, nothing else he's done is below 118. Obviously, you take it with a hint of salt because the first one was his debut maiden, where he recorded a RPR of 103. Big horse, he was likely undercooked, but you've got to put a horse that's 5-4 in a race this deep under that kind of a magnifying glass. You have to. You can't expect people or yourself to part with their hard earned at 5-4 unless you're rock solid. And I can't be rock solid on this horse, particularly on good to firm. It just jumps out at me. He's run twice on good, and there is he's recorded his 2 lowest marks, and now we're going for good to firm. It's not certain to get him beat, but it's certainly enough for me to not back him. Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily mean back something else, but it definitely means don't back him to me. I'd happily watch him go and win, but I can't back him.
I think that's a very, very good point and an important one to make. He's obviously top rated on time form and pro form and RPRs. No prizes for guessing that. But that is a really good point to make. 6 runs in his career so far. 2 from 2 on soft. 2 from 2 on good to soft. 1 from 2 on good. But crucially, his peak RPR 109 on good. Good to soft 131. Soft 129. Could that be a big issue on Wednesday? We shall see. As we move on, Docklands. Royal Ascot winner last season. His form with Quada and particularly with Sharon reads much better now. Hasn't raced beyond a mile since his second start in novice company last year. Sire's progeny tend to be best over a mile or sprint trips, but Docklands does have 2 siblings who've won over a mile 2 and a mile 4 respectively. Definitely worth a go at this trip, but needs to improve for it, Harry.
Yeah, I think you kind of 33s is probably the right price for this horse. I wouldn't be backing Docklands myself, but I could see people coming in with an avenue maybe as an each way player. The run behind Sharon last time out is obviously it's decent enough form, but I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't back him just because I just don't think he's that good. If you know what I mean. I don't think he's up to the level of some of these in here.
Yeah, I agree. I believe he's off to Australia soon, so he's not long for these shores, George. It'd be some way to shoot the lights out, but I don't see it myself.
Yeah, oh God, he's an admirable horse, isn't he? I personally love him. He has a knack of being a decent each-way price. Coudoir outstayed him at Ascot back in May. Great horse. Would love to have him. Make a cracking hurdler. And back in the day, he would have done. He would have done. But never mind. He doesn't interest me here. I think there are better horses at similar prices that would interest me more. Durezza
for the Japanese. He's got a Group 1 win to his name. It came in the St. Leger late last year over a mile 7 in Japan. Beaten on his last 2 starts in a Grade 2 and a Grade 1. But he's won 5 times on good to firm. He's never been out of the money over this trip in 4 starts, including 2 wins. And he's won 4 of his 5 starts off a break of 60 days or more and placed in the others. So freshness should be an advantage. Japan have sent multiple runners to this race. A lot of them were better than him. But it would be foolish to underestimate a Japanese runner in a Group 1 in the UK, given their record around the world in other such races, Harry.
It's foolish, but it's exactly what I'm going to do. I've not even opened his form. Well, that sounds very harsh, but look, if this horse wins, I think if this horse wins, then the rest have. I think we're fucked. to be pretty quite frank, I mean, if the likes of City of Troy, if we're getting stuff,
we'll replay that afterwards when it hoses up.
Yeah, do you know what? I have a tendency to do this on the Fools of Horses channel, and it comes back and bites me on the rear end. But why not? You know, like I'm willing to keep it this side of the shore, and hope that our lot absolutely stuff the Japanese.
Oh man, George Gorman.
This is going to get clipped. This is going to get clipped.
Of course it's going to get clipped. And City of Troy downed by the Japanese St. Ledger winner. Just intersperse Harry's. If this horse we're
demonetizing everything.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that has definitely taken care of the demonetization of this particular episode. But anyway, never mind. George, are you as downbeat about the Japanese Raiders, Harry?
It's not so much the Japanese horses beating us. It's just, the horse has been finishing second or third in like middle distance group ones over there, comes over and beats us. You go, oh, they've got better horses than us, similar to Asphora coming over and winning at Royal Ascot. You go, well, they've got a bit better sprinters than us. What would be really hurtful would be this horse that seems to be at his best over 1.7 and 2 miles over there, comes over here, drops back in trip and wins a Group 1, beating our best horses. This doesn't seem like one of their top notches. Having said that, Christophe Lemaire does come over to take the ride, but maybe there's no racing in Japan the same day. It would be disappointing if he was good enough to win this. I say his RPR of 1.22 when he won in Kyoto, was it the Kikuka Show, the Japanese St. Ledger? That is of the level that you would have to run to win this.
It's not just a race. It's not just this race, though. This is the race that our trainers, Irish trainers, UK and Irish trainers have given to us as the race of, Emmet, I think you mentioned earlier, the race of the century. You know, this is what we've all been waiting for. And
this is the best of our best. It's not the best of the Japanese, this horse.
No,
if he was one of their top 3, 4, 5 middle distance horses, great. This is a stayer.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
It'd be like if we sent Stradivarius over there and won the Japan World Cup or whatever it is, the Japan Gold Cup.
Yeah, we'd think their middle distance horses are rubbish if that had happened.
Yeah,
that's a fair point. I can accept Asphora coming over as the 10th best, or not even in the top 10 of the Australians, and beating our sprinters, because our sprinters are just much of a muchness. They keep beating one another. The middle distance division is really lacking strength and depth. But if this fella comes over here and beats them, like including our Frankel in City of Troy, that's not going to be good at all. Ghostwriter, unbeaten in 3 starts as a 2-year-old, including the Group 2 Royal Lodge, but 0 from 3 this season. Although, to be fair, they have been Group 1's 2 classics. I don't see any reason why he would beat City of Troy when he couldn't beat a softened up, more vulnerable version of that horse in the Eclipse last time out. How's he going to do that on good ground at York?
Likeable horse. I think you've just summed it up right there. I think connections maybe were a little bit downbeat about his performance behind Luc de Vega. I think everyone was kind of hoping that Ghostwriter would put the Guineas form up to the French, and it wasn't to be. But I just think that this horse doesn't really stay that well, and that would be my worry about this horse. I think he'd be better at a mile, if I'm going to be honest.
I agree. George, what do you think?
I think if you were to make a case for him, it seems to be the Guineas form has worked out around him, and he is 2 from 2 on good to firm ground. So maybe a return to a sounder surface might help him stay, would be your argument. If you were trying to think, how can he find 2 lengths on City of Troy? It'd be if City of Troy hates good to firm ground and he's back on good to firm ground, which he seems to like. He beat Al Musmak back in September in the Royal Lodge Stakes on firm ground, on good to firm ground, which looks like pretty good form now. So if you were going to make a case for him, for me, it'd be based on the ground, particularly being by Invincible Spirit as well. They tend to skip along on this sort of ground. He's not my selection, but that would be how I would make a case for him.
Yeah, and to be fair, his owner did pull off a massive upset in this race 9 years ago when Arabian Queen somehow managed to down Golden Horn as the long odds-on favourite in the race. I think she was 50 to 1. Maybe it's going to be another famous victory in those silks I don't see it personally. Hans Andersen showed a little bit of potential as a 2-year-old. He gets first-time blinkers, but he's been unplaced in all 6 starts in Group 1 company, and he'll be sacrificed as a pacemaker, falling out the back of the telly at the business end. We can move on. Israr, twice a winner in Class 1 company and placed 4 times in 8 starts. This is his first Group 1 run. Better than ever since fitted with blinkers on his last 3 starts and travelled really strongly when winning at Royal Ascot last time out. He has won off a break before, and Connections won this race last year with another late maturing type, but Jim Crowley prefers Alflela. Interesting for the tricast purposes, but I can't see him winning it though, Harry.
No, I think the fact that the drop down in grade from Chester and obviously Sandown with the form with Okeechobee, I thought that was a very good run. I just don't think he finds that much off the bridle, and he was entitled to win at Ascot the last day. Look, the break's obviously going to do him well, but jumping from Wolferton into what is arguably the hottest Juddmonte International we've seen for years, it's going to be a tough ask. But he can run well. Will he win? I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I'd be amazed. Not quite Japanese Raider wins amazed, but I would be surprised if he's good enough, George.
Yeah, he's going to have to find a whole new level of form. He's 5 years of age. Blinkers are on for the 4th time now. I can't find a reason that he's going to find another £5 to get, well, he's going to need more than £5 to get past City of Troy because he's conceding weight to him as well.
There is another horse in here who I think is quite interesting at 5 years of age, and that's Maljoom. His last 7 starts have all been over a mile. This is the first time he's gone further than 8 furlongs. Stayed on really well in the Sussex Stakes, suggesting he'd appreciate a step up and trip last time out against Notable Speech. He wore first-time headgear that day. They're still on, and he lost very little in the defeat trying to give weight to Charlie Appleby's star 3-year-old. William Haggis has trained more winners at York than any other trainer at the Ebor meeting this week, with 40 since 2019, and Tom Marquand's 15.1% strike rate makes him one of the most successful jockeys riding at the track in that same time period. Doesn't have much to find on time form and RPRs, and he could improve for this step up and trip. He's interesting, Harry.
He's a massive price. I thought he loved the blinkers the last day, and I thought it really seemed to suit him. You know, you can never really forget the Caribus defeat when he just came flying home, and that was sickening really for everyone involved. And then obviously he had a really long break, and I just think that he's just coming back into himself now, and I can't believe the price that he is. He looks like a type that will love this step up. He always finishes his race strongly, but again, my only concern would be is he probably will be like the French raider. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. It's a tongue twister for you to worry about, Emmet. But Maljoom is one of those that is going to be coming fast and late. Do I think he's good enough to win? Back at probably Caribus form lines, yes, I'd say he could well win this, but I think he'll be running for place turns in my opinion.
Could be more of an exacta trifecta type, to use the American terminology, but
extra places that you'll get on the day. I'd be more than willing to have a bet on that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting for sure. He's just massively overpriced here at 25-1, given the ability he has. And if he does improve for the step up and trip, which isn't a given, but Caravaggio out of a Teofilio mare, he's well worth his place here, George, and he's very, very intriguing.
Absolutely. I'm very, very interested in this horse. Like I said before, the first time blinkers seemed to pull out a bit. They actually pulled out not just improvement from his previous run, they pulled out career improvement. That was actually rated by Racing Post £1 better than his St James's Palace Stakes, half a length 4th to Caribus. If he can reproduce that or even potentially better it, now he's stepping up in trip. It's all about finding those little things. Where can this horse find a little bit more? This horse has every reason he could find a little bit more again. He's got not very much to find on ratings with the top horse in the betting, albeit that doesn't account for the weight for age with the top 3, but still, like he's just got to find the improvement of the weight for age essentially to get to them, and could happen. Much stranger things have happened. You've got to find £7 of improvement really to get involved with all of them, apart from City of Troy. Stepping up in trip for the first time, I think he could.
Ground will be good for him. Coming into this on the back of a career best effort last time out. There's a lot to like about Maljoom. A lot to like. Royal Rhyme. His form with the Ghostwriter at Royal Ascot and King of Steel on Champions Day makes him certainly interesting. Wasn't beaten far by Alflela last time out. He's entitled to take his chance, Harry, but unlikely to be good enough.
Yeah, spot on. I don't think you really need to say much more about this horse. I think I think he'd struggle to win the race before. Never mind this.
George?
Yeah, not good enough, I'm afraid. Lovely horse, but
moving on.
You'd have to improve £10.
That brings us to Zarakem, who is 2 from 2 off a break of 60 days or more and comes here in the back of a career best effort when second to Auguste Rodin at Royal Ascot last time out. That was Auguste Rodin at his absolute best, so that form does read well. Handles all type of ground, and he'll like the trip. He's the 3rd highest on RPRs and the 2nd highest rated horse on time form. He is a big player for the French here, Harry.
He is, but I'd like to see him back it up, his Ascot run, because I just feel like he's a little bit too inconsistent. Now, whether the Prince of Wales was a fluke, we don't know, because, well, I wouldn't say it is, because he's beat Horizon Door, who's a very talented animal. And Twice, exactly. So it's... My only worry would be, would the Prince of Wales be like a cloud over him? I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be backing him, but if he was to run a nice race, I wouldn't be surprised, because, like you mentioned, that bit behind, finishing 3/4 of a length behind Auguste Rodin and pushing him all the way to the line, let me add. I mean, that was Auguste Rodin. He had to pull out all of the gears, and he did. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a nice race, but I wouldn't be backing him.
George, for you?
Yeah, Jerome Renier is a magic man. He's going to be big news in world racing. Very, very well. I think he's already there now off some good showings at Royal Ascot. But so Zarakem beat a few of these when he was only beaten 3/4 of a length by Auguste Rodin, Prince of Wales. Recorded an RPR of 1-2-3 in the process, which is more than good enough to get involved here. I think his price is probably a reflection of an overall spotty record. But he's a 6-time winner and the winner of a Group 2 pre-Dark Or. And I think the fact that record is a bit spotty is probably explained by the fact all of his defeats have come on good, soft or worse. And the Prince of Wales is his only defeat on ground that's good or quicker. And as the fast defeats go, you'd take that one, wouldn't you? I think it's 2 from 3 on ground that's good or quicker. So I think that goes a long way towards explaining away quite a few of the subpar performances in his record, and I would be interested in this horse for sure.
I'm very interested in him. Let's sum up who we think is going to win the Juddmonte International. City of Troy is the short price favourite. He's going to take an awful lot of beating, but I think there's enough reasons to want to take him on. I want him in. I'm going to play this as an exotic race. I want to do box exactas, as Barry Faulkner would say. I want to do combination tricasts. That might make me sound insane, but I want to try and get value for this race. And City of Troy is going to be in there. I'm going to pick 4 horses for that, but put it this way, if the horses that I've picked end up finishing 1st, 2nd, and 3rd and City of Troy is 4th, I wouldn't be too sad about that. That would be okay. But I'm pretty certain he is going to win. I just don't know if I can be back. I can't back him at the price he is, quite frankly. It's a deep race. Maybe he is going to be the superstar, but we shall see. Who is your 1, 2, 3, Harry?
Well, if Denise starts offering silly super boosts that she does, then you might actually take the price on
that might happen
because you never know.
That might happen.
You never know. You never know. And
5 to 1, City of Troy. Come fill your boots.
Sell out. But look, I'm going to put City of Troy in there. I'm going to put Ambiente Friendly in there as well, because I think the drop down in trip is certainly going to play to his strengths. And I think Maljoom as well at a massive price. I think that horse could be running on. And then if you ask me for the 4th, I reckon our Bluestocking's got to be in there. She's very talented, and it's a brave decision to send her here. So they must be full of confidence.
Yeah, it's a bold decision. I do want your reaction to a statistic. And look, stats can be, you can take or leave them. But 10 of the last 12 winners of this race had a rating of 120 or higher. There's only 2 horses in the field who have a rating that fits that bracket. City of Troy.
And one of them is one that I slagged off.
Or Durezza.
No, look, if a Japanese St. Ledger winner cannot be beating our best middle distance horses, it just can't happen. And it shouldn't happen. So if it did happen, then the game's gone. The game has gone.
Yeah.
So, and then we just look to Chepstow.
We'll raise the flag. to Chepstow.
Yeah.
Stick a fork in it. We've already done a Jumps podcast with Gavin Lynch, which is available for you now to listen to and to watch on YouTube as well. We'll just stick a fork in it and wait for the jump season if that happens. Okay, your 1, 2, 3 again?
City of Troy, Ambiente Friendly, and Maljoom to come third.
Okay, and you want Bluestocking in there just as a protection for 4?
Bluestocking in there. Yeah.
Okay.
She can. She's a protection one.
All right, George, what is your 1, 2, 3 for the Juddmonte International?
I'm going to get slated for this.
Let's go.
I can see, to me, City of Troy, Calandagan could be boom or bust here. And if I think City of Troy is not going to like the ground and Calandagan is going to like the trip, I can't well have them in my top 3. I'm going Maljoom, Ambiente Friendly, Zarakem.
You have to.
It comes in, I've not had a penny on it. Yeah, jeez. I wasn't expecting the 1, 2, 3 question. I was going in my head. I was going, I think Ambiente Friendly is going to be the best of those 3 at the top, but I don't think he'll win. And Zarakem and Maljoom were my sort of each way fancies. I went, well, if I don't think Ambiente Friendly is going to win, that means Maljoom has to win. That's the only way, because I just couldn't. I can't have City of Troy or Calandagan beating Ambiente Friendly, but I can't have Ambiente Friendly winning.
Well, I think, look,
so that's how I ended up.
It's pretty obvious that City of Troy is going to take the world to beating if he runs his race. If he repeats what he did at Newmarket, then he's got no chance. But there's no reason to think that's going to happen. However, your concerns about the ground are very much worth pointing out. And he wasn't just hanging right at the finish of the Eclipse. He was leaning to the right early in that race as well. And it's just enough to not make you not want to take even money or 11 to 8 on about him currently at the price he is. He might go off even shorter, by the way, because if the lads get stuck into him and they like a well-backed winner of a Group 1, because they like the perception of we knew this was going to happen. So he could go off quite shorter than he is. I hope he wins. It's great for racing if he does. But he's in there in the if he's going to win, I'm hoping that these horses that I've put in around him will then boost the profits. Exactas, combination trifectas, City of Troy, Zarakem, Maljoom, and Calandagan, or whatever the French pronunciation of that particular name is. I think he's a serious horse. I'm very tempted to back Maljoom each way. Very, very tempted to back him as the one actual bet in the race. I think 25 to 1 about him is massive. You can get that right now with Jeff Banks' bet as we're recording. That's an insanely big price. It's just too big. This is a deep race. It's going to take a lot of winning, but we've seen some upsets in the past. We've seen some upsets in this race in the past. So what's it going to be? A blowout race? Or is it going to be a Juddmonte International that yet again produces an incredible performance from a star racehorse? We will see on Wednesday. You can place your bets right now with Jeff Banks' bet. You can listen to the race live on TalkSport 2. Lizzie Kelly, Rupert Bell on commentary, myself, and Martin Dwyer, I believe, joining me in studio as we bring you the race live. Enjoy it. Race of the day. Juddmonte International. Cannot wait for it. Come on the TriCast. The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks' Bet, where tradition meets cutting-edge technology, and with major flat racing festivals on the horizon and the new jump season about to kick off properly, it's time to leave behind the corporate bookmakers who don't value your loyalty. At this point, you've got to be fed up of their restrictions, endless affordability checks, and losing out on incentives just because you dared to win a bet. Jeff is the bookmaker fighting for your right to bet, giving you the freedom to enjoy British and Irish racing the way it should be, and you can watch all that racing on the Jeff Banks Bet app. So say goodbye to bookies who want you to lose your hard-earned money on their online casinos, and say yes to unbeatable odds and a bookmaker that truly values your custom, Jeff Banks Bet. Final Furlong podcast listeners who sign up to Jeff Banks online using the promo code FFP500 can get 10% of any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting, up to £500. It's an offer you won't see anywhere else. Visit jeffbanks.bet today and enter promo code FFP500 and join the excitement. That's jeffbanks.bet using promo code FFP500, because your betting experience deserves more. Let's move on to the other races. We're going to race through these races pretty quickly. So we're going to start with the 225, the Tattersalls Acomb Stakes Group 3. Ruling Court is favourite for William Buick and Charlie Appleby. It's such an interesting shape to this race because the line in winter is a 2-1 second favourite. These two horses are currently the Antipus favourites for the Derby. That's how it's looking with Jeff Banks' bet at the moment. And then it's any price you want, essentially, about the rest. So this has got a real scumbag each way feel to it, Harry. How are you approaching it?
Well, I'm just going to do the scumbag thing and not even mention about an each way price, like that's just the way it goes. I did back. I'm not getting the hammers out on this channel because I get absolutely slated on the Only Fools of Horses podcast for whenever I do. But I did manage to sneak a bigger price on the line in winter. I think it was a week ago.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't mind taking the slack. But look, we'll mention the top two of the market because they definitely need ruling court and a big reputation to fulfill going into Sandown in what is usually a very good maiden. The likes of Kamiko's won that race before. Arabian Crown won it last year, who I really fancied. So for the Derby this year, obviously prior to him getting a little setback, but the way he went through the race was pretty phenomenal, and the way he kicked clear was also very impressive. Now, would I be taking even money? No way. But the only reason I'd be siding with the other horse, the line in winter, is because Aidan O'Brien had a little smirk, and the time form ratings are pretty remarkable for what this horse did on debut. I mean, from Aidan O'Brien's Derby winners, he fits in at third. From their rating after debut, the only two in front of him are City of Troy and Galileo.
Damn.
So
good knowledge, son.
From that, you're kind of thinking like, wow, what is this horse? And like you mentioned, these two are the ones that you're thinking, are these the Derby horses for next year? And like, his form was franked when his stablemate Ides of March, I want to say,
right.
last weekend, very well as well. Now, albeit it was dropped down in trip, which I thought the horse needed, but I'd rather be taking 2-1 about this horse, who is apparently going to the Goths Million later on down the line. But this would be a good experience for him, and if he is anywhere near that performance at the Curragh, I think he'll be very tough to beat.
Hey, by the way, that would worry me if he's going for the Goths Million. That's not what they tend to do with their classic horses for next season as 2-year-olds. Now, possible that things change, and they do that. Aidan O'Brien is constantly evolving, changing his ways, changing what he does, which just seems insane to me. You're the best in the world at this, and yet you're constantly trying to improve. That's why he's the best in the world. But you can back him right now with Jeff Banks bet at 14-1 for the Derby. Ruling Court is the 10-1 favourite with Jeff Banks bet for next year's Derby. That will tell you how good both of these horses are. It's fascinating they're clashing. This really wouldn't happen normally, but Aidan O'Brien is the champion trainer-elect. They want to nail that, and they're sending this hugely talented 2-year-old. And George, Sarah Lynham and I had a really interesting conversation about Aidan O'Brien's strength and depth with the 2-year-olds, which is really his fillies have been leading the way. Now, Whistle Jacket, we didn't expect to come out and run as quickly as he did, but he has, and he's now added a Group 1 to his CV. Sarah's pretty adamant that he doesn't actually take after a Little Big Bear, and he'll be much better over a mile next season. And I agree with that. I think he'll take all the beating in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf now. But this is the fella who could now emerge as the real star of Aidan O'Brien's colts. And if he does, well, he's going to have to beat, intriguingly, a Coolmore bred horse in the process. Out of a High Chaparral mare by Justify, cost 2.1 million to be acquired by Godolphin. And he's not a Coolmore stallion horse for themselves. He's a See the Stars out of a Lope de Vega mare. So it's an interesting side note on all of this. But the two old superpowers taking each other on, the old rivals, who's going to come out on top?
Yeah, we love to see it, don't we? Like Godolphin taking on Coolmore. The Lion in Winter probably would be my pick from a win perspective. And like I said, he's obviously recorded the highest RPR. But even more impressive than that, obviously, Aidan O'Brien's also seemed to need a run this year. So the fact he was able to record a mark like that is obviously freakish. Still, I just think the shape of this race betting wise, with the top two at 5-4 and 2-1, the rest at 20-1 and upwards, despite the fact the majority of these only have £5 to find with the favourite on RPRs, and they're all 2-year-olds, they all progress at different speeds. I think you have to find an each way angle in this. You just have to. And I went with two. I'll go through quickly now. Urug, I think, is overpriced on the basis of his novice defeat of Seagulls 11 at Haydock on his second start. That horse then won another novice at Haydock by 2.25 lengths going away next time, before going on to be beaten a length and a half into second in the Superlative Stakes, finishing in front of this race's third favourite, Wimbledon Hawkeye. So after beating that horse, Urug showed improvement. He made all and all ever novice under a penalty.
He'll have to continue to improve to make a mark here, but he has more experience than most of these. I think he can make it tell. Quicker surface is the question mark, but he's run on the all-weather, and it hasn't tended to be a problem for Sons of Dubawi. And the other one, a huge price, I think, is the Waco Kid. He's 33 to 1. I'm not sure. Is he outsider a lot, or is there one behind him? There's one bigger than him. But he has the same official rating as Wimbledon Hawkeye and an RPR £1 higher, and somehow finds himself at 33 to 1. Perhaps maybe less flashy connections, slightly more exposed profile. He's got 3 runs under his belt. I think experience always stands to them in these races, but he also is particularly experienced at group level. He was 5th in the Richmond, but he was only beaten 2 1/4 length by Black Forza, and only a length and 3/4 behind the Striking Viking, which is one of the better 2-year-olds I think we've seen this season. All 3 of his starts have come on good to firm ground, over 6 furlong. All 3 have earned in-running comments of kept/ran on well in the final furlong. And he gets a step up in trip here and could well improve on what he's shown so far. And to be honest, on ratings, he's bang there already. So those would be my 2, Urug and the Waco Kid at 25 to 1 and 33 to 1 each way.
Yeah, 33s is massive. Something's got to finish third, and this is a race that bookmakers are going to hate. Jeff Banks hates this race because this is basically stealing money, assuming you can figure out which horse is going to be well suited. This is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp Therapy Online. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day or therapy day. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you've no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. If you've ever been in therapy, then like me, you know how beneficial it can be. But it's not just for those who've experienced major trauma. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and setting boundaries. Therapy empowers you to be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a registered therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. With almost 5,000 therapists in the UK already, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise. Visit betterhelp.com/furlong today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/furlong. This is a paid advertisement by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/furlong to get 10% off your first month and get on your way to being your best self. Great Voltigeur Stakes, Group 2. Los Angeles is your favorite. Irish Derby winner, 5 to 4. King's Gambit, interestingly priced at 2 to 1. I suppose he should be, given the fact that he was narrowly beaten by El Flela last time out, and the form with JRB has worked out pretty well. Illinois has done pretty well since his defeat to Ambiente Friendly. That form looks damn good too. Beat Highbury, who's looked good at Goodwood, and second to the Ark's second favourite last time out. And then it's 9 to 1 with Jeff Banks bar about the rest of them. Harry, who do you like in the Voltigeur? This is a tricky race.
It is a tricky race, and if you'd have told me that at the start of the season that King's Gambit would be in here at 2 to 1, I'd have laughed at you, because he was rated 93. He went to I can't think of the name of the handicap now, but he absolutely bolted in. He laughed at that mark, and he showed that he does deserve his step in this sort of company. He obviously then went to Ascot, where he was very, he got robbed of a win. You know, it was one of those where you look back, and I'm sure William Buick, he doesn't get things wrong many times, but I think if he'd have liked one ride back that week, I think it'd have been King's Gambit, because he was almost assured of a winner. But then went to York last time out, and Callum Shepherd did a brilliant job. And I think as soon as he got past Royal Rhyme, he probably thought, right, this is it. Then we've won. And then Al Flayler just battles on and does it. Now, does he want to step up in trip? I'm not too sure. And you're looking at the likes of Los Angeles, who, albeit he has to give £5 away. I think he's just a different kettle of fish, if I'm going to be genuinely honest. Illinois was obviously smashed by Ambiente Friendly and in the Lingfield trial, but I wouldn't be surprised if Los Angeles and Illinois finish 1-2. What order, I'm not too sure. I'd be siding with Los Angeles. Like, he's an Irish Derby winner. He's dropping into Group 2 company. It's his for the taking, really. I'm
slightly surprised he's running, George. I thought they were just going to turn up straight to the St. Ledger, but obviously Aidan feels he needs the run. I think he'll win this. I respect King's Gambit, but I basically agree with everything Harry's just said. lovely horse. He'll stay. I don't doubt that for a second. I think he will get the trip. I just wonder against horses like Los Angeles and Illinois if he's going to have enough, and it's probably going to be a steady enough pace. I imagine that's why Euphoric is in there. I think this is going to be an Aidan O'Brien 1-2.
Yeah, look, Los Angeles is clear on ratings. He's behind King's Gambit, I think, by a pound on RPRs, but I don't think it's not that he won't stay. I don't think he'll appreciate the step up in trip. I don't think it's going to bring out any further improvement. Los Angeles, other than this Derby third, he's unbeaten. And that day, I've been through it before. I just think he did too much too soon, possibly with a view to making sure City of Troy had a good. He proved that the next time as he turned the tables with Ambiente Friendly emphatically in the Irish Derby. The horse has seemingly endless stamina. I think if this race was run over a mile 6, I'd have him at like 2-1 on. Like, I think he'd be certain. But he does have Euphoric here to ensure a good gallop for him. I can't see any of these horses outstaying him. The one question mark would be if the ground was on the quick side, but I think he's got enough that I don't think it's going to matter. I think what would worry me about quick ground for me would be if it turned into a sprint, and they're not going to let that happen. So the one horse maybe that might outrun its odds a little bit is Dear Emile. He's still pretty lightly raced and actually ran a very good race in the Derby. But if anything, Los Angeles, like I said, didn't run his race to suit him that day, and he'll probably make the gap bigger. But Dear Emile could take a step forward and finish second or third, but I have an interest in anything like that money-wise. I would just be backing Los Angeles, to be honest.
Yeah, I would too. I wouldn't underestimate Illinois. He's a half-brother to an ARC winner. And that was a really good run in the Grand Prix de Paris last time out. And he might just surprise a few people, especially not... Well, he does have a penalty to carry, but he doesn't have a Group 1 penalty. I don't think he's just a complete boat. And I wouldn't underestimate him, but Los Angeles is the one for me. I think he's going to win that.
The Final Furlong podcast is proudly brought to you by Jeff Banks Bet. Join the excitement and sign up to Jeff Banks online now to get 10% off any net losses returned as cash after your first month of betting up to £500 at jeffbanks.bet.